Okay, it's almost 10 years, Rabbi Isai, since we started learning the Zera Shimshon. Can't believe that's already 10 years. Remember, we used to have the Yahrzeit Sudas. We used to learn longer formats. We changed the formats many times. We took a little bit of a break. And today, obviously, is the Yahrzeit of the Zera Shimshon. The Zera Shimshon, who, very unusual, wrote a promise in the beginning of his Sefer that anybody that learns from him, he will be Meilutz Yosher. And obviously we know the reason is because unfortunately his only child, his son, passed away at a very young age. And he viewed his Torah as a continuation of who he was, of his legacy. And obviously this was a method for him to continue to have someone to learn on his benefit. So today we're going to learn the Zera Shimshon. As I mentioned, we started 10 years ago. Before 10 years ago, it was kemat unheard of, the Sefer. And through a bunch of different vehicles, Rav Nachman Seltzer wrote a story on it, and then other people were mafarsim it, they took it upon themselves, and today, 10 years later, there's kemat nobody in Klal Yisrael who hasn't heard one way or another this gewaldige Sefer. And in the merit of the Zera Shimshon, we ask that he should be a Meilutz Yosher for us. He should intercede on our behalf for our personal requests, for our general requests, and obviously for what he said that he would Meilutz in the beginning of the Sefer. Befrat on a Yahrzeit, where a tzaddik's words are heeded more in Shemayim, and especially as we do a favor for him, even though we are nobody, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu still gave us an opportunity to do mitzvahs, which is something if a person recognizes that we could still do mitzvahs, as Rav Nachman says, as long as the flame burns, we could still fix. So we have a koyach to help the tzaddik, and in response we know that a tzaddik will be meilutz on our behalf. So we're going to begin in Teitzei, Perek Daled, as this is one of the earliest pieces I believe we did together, a famous classic piece, a beautiful piece. It talks about the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKan, and it connects to the binyan Beis HaMikdash. And we have to understand what's the connection. And the Zera Shimshon, through his incredible chidushim, his derech hachidush and pilpul, is going to explain to us how exactly the mitzvah Shiluach HaKan helps bring the Beis HaMikdash closer. Ha'imra HaKan Sipur Yigir Achamecha. Someone who says, Kan Sipor, Hashem's Rachim should come, Moidim. If he says Moidim, the Gemara in Bracha says, Mishtatkin Oisa, we quiet him. Vamrin Hassan, and the reason is, that you make the midas of a HaKadosh Baruch Hu Rachmim. And the truth is, the mitzvahs of Hashem is really commandments that Hashem does. And I always give the example when it comes to the mitzvah of tzedakah. The mitzvah of tzedakah, obviously we think that, when Ani comes to our door, we have Rachmanis on him, we have to help him. It's a big mistake. Obviously, you have to have Rachmanis on the Ani. But what happens if an Ani doesn't connect to you, doesn't talk to you? You know he's an Ani. You verified he's an Ani, but for whatever reason you have no mercy on him, you have no Rachman, you don't feel anything. So does that mean you're not supposed to give him tzedakah? Of course not. The mitzvah is you have to give a person tzedakah who needs it, whether you like him, whether you don't like him. Sometimes the human emotion of rachamim, right? He asks that he needs more, it's not enough, maybe help him in other ways. So that racham generates the impetus for a person to take another step. But it's not rachamim, it's tzedakah. It's a gzeir from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which obviously leads to the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKan. If you think about it, it's achzorius in a way. I remember we once did Shiluach HaKan. You hear the mother crying. When you take the bird away, you literally hear the mother crying. It's very hard. But that's the gzeir of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kasha darminu b'merish rabba, kishem shenismal HaKadosh Baruch Hu rachmim al behema. Just like HaKadosh Baruch has rachmim on an animal, kach nismale rachmim al oifis. So too HaKadosh Baruch has rachmim on birds. Minayin, how do we know? Shenam kikari kan sipur. Umikan nira, from here says the Zera Shimshon, bibir she'ikar tam sipur, that the main reason of doing Shiluach HaKan, Mishum Rachamim. So how could you tell me the Gemara says that it's not because of Rachamim. You see clearly that the Medrash says it is Rachamim. We know that to some mitzvahs the reward is covered. There's some mitzvahs that the reward is ashiras. What is the reward of shiluch hakan? If a person does not have children, as it says, a play on the words of esabonim tikach loch, and the bonim, which simple pshat means the eggs of the mother, right? Esabonim tikach loch, the eggs of the mother. But as the Medrash explains, a little bit of like a play on the words, as a remez, as a drush, ve'esabonim, the bonim for you, tikach lecha, you will take for yourself. That is the reward. The Shimshon has a very simple question. What's the connection? If I did Shaliach Hakan, I get children. What is it? I know people that it worked. In addition, there's another medrash that says that if you are mekayim the mitzvah shiluach hasem, you are mekayim the mitzvah and you cause Melech HaMashiach to come quicker. Shenam, as it says, Hine anochi sholech lachem. U'eperek dal di Yavamis Aminin ein ben David ba at shekolu kol nasham shevaguf. There's a special heichal in Shemayim, a special chamber in Shemayim that Kadosh Baruch Hu put all the neshamas that He was going to create. It's called guf. So that guf has to be emptied of all the neshamas there in order for Mashiach to come. Since the reward of doing Shiluach HaKan is to cause Mashiach to come faster, how can Mashiach come faster? Only if the guf, this heichal, this chamber is emptied quicker. Who causes Mashiach to have to come faster? You who did the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKan. So in order for Hashem to cause the mitzvah, the Melech HaMashiach to come quicker, He has to empty the guf of the neshamas. So Mamela, He gives it to you. Makes sense? So now we understand a little bit the connection between doing Shiluach HaKan and having children. Why is that? It's not just that the pasuk says Ve'esabonim tikach la, and the children you should take for yourself, but rather the reward is by doing Shiluach HaKan, you're accelerating the time period of when Mashiach shall come. But in order for Mashiach to come, the chamber that has all the neshamas has to be emptied. So Hashem says, okay, you who did this mitzvah are pushing me to bring Mashiach faster. So how do I bring Mashiach faster? I have to push out the neshamas faster. So who better to get the neshama than the one that's causing the acceleration to happen? Says the Zera Shimshon, very beautiful. We need still Rebbe Eliezer Limudai. Rebbe Eliezer Limudai was one of the Tanoim that whenever there was a question on the wording of a Mishnah or Brisa, or what the halacha was, we always went to him because he was always the most clearest and the most thought through Tana. And whenever he said something, it was a given that whatever he said was correct. So Eich Tolu Bias HaMashiach B'Kiyum Mitzvah. So the Zera Shimshon said, let's take a step backwards. Okay, you explained to me why the reward is to get children. But why is the reward to do Shaliach HaKan to accelerate Mashiach, that Mashiach should come faster? What's the connection? So for that, the Zera Shimshon says we need a clear explanation, hence the wording Mudai. It's a reference to Rebbe Eliezer Mudai, who was always very clear and always gave a beautiful explanation to all the Shabbos. B'medrash Rus. Huva b'shach. The Parshazu, the Shach al Torah, ki mitoch shu mishalechas emu yalechas udegez misteres al kana. When you send away the mother bird goes crazy, and it's bitzar on the nest, on the children. V'hoyleches no v'noda. It goes back and forth, and in the great pain and the tsar of unknowing what happens to her children, v'roitz lahargas atzman, and wants to kill herself. Umiroiv tsar hasar hamamuna al oifes, the bird. The malach, the sar, the minister that's in charge of the birds, mevakesh rachmim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Oz HaKadosh Baruch Hu mismalei rachmim. Obviously, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mismalei rachmim. He sees what's happening to the bird. The bird's going mamish crazy. The mother can live in the tremendous power. The Oimer im zeh hasar mevakesh rachmim al minuya, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a kal v'chomer. if this sar is asking rachamim on its charges, on the birds, whatever the name of the sar is that's in charge of the birds, comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and asks rachamim, look at what's going on with this bird, should I not, who is Melech Malchei Hamlochim Racham Sheberachamim, should I not have rachamim on my children? Right? If the minister is asking rachamim on its subjects, so for sure, me, the father of Klal Yisrael, should not ask rachamim and should not do rachamim with Klal Yisrael. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu mismali rachamim v'oimim asar mevakesh rachamim al minuyev ani shani rachamim. I am rachamim mimeni heim harachamim lo yarachamim al banai. Will I not have rachamim on my children? And Hashem says, Oishe hechrafti as Beisi, and woe is to me that I destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, that I was exiled Klal Yisrael. So Hashem is now Mismali Rachamim, and therefore Hashem wants to bring the Mashiach. Umi Gorm Kolzeh, who caused this issue that Hashem should now have Rachamim? That person Shekia Mitzvah Shiluch HaKan. Harimavur Heich Mitzvah Shiluch HaKan. So now we see how the mitzvah shiluch hakan mikareves as a gula. What happens is when you do the mitzvah shiluch hakan, you chase away the mother bird goes crazy and is in tremendous tsar and wants to kill herself. And the minister that's in charge of the oifus of the birds comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, please have rachamim on this mother. And Hashem says, if this minister is having rachamim on birds, I should not have rachamim on my children. And at that moment, Hashem remembers that He destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. He sent Klal Yisrael into Golus and all the tzaros that we have. And Hashem says, I have to now come and bring the Beis HaMikdash back to Eretz Yisrael. Who caused that? All that? The person, the individual that did the mitzvah Shiluch HaKan. Void nimtzino l'meidem mitzir sameresh harishon. The enochanami shebemitzvah zu yesh ba midas rachamim. It's true that as a result of the mitzvah, it generates rachamim. But the reason that we do the mitzvah is not because of rachamim, says the Zera Shimshon. The rachamim only comes after the person chases away the mother. When actuality, when you chase the mother, that's not rachamim. It's axorius. But it generates the rachamim from the sar, the minister who's in charge of the birds, and that generates rachamim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore we see from here the tremendous mitzvah of Shiluach HaKan, how it brings the Geula closer, how it brings the Mashiach closer, and in order for the Mashiach to become closer, Hashem has to empty this guf, this chamber that has all the neshamas. And who caused all that? The individual that did the mitzvah shiluch hakan, and as a result, Hashem rewards the person with, as the pasuk says, v'aslabanim tikach lo. And we ask that in the schus of learning this Zera Shimshon, this piece of Zera Shimshon, we are nobody, but we could do mitzvahs in this world, that it should be a schus for his neshama. And we ask that the Zera Shimshon Reb Shimshon Chaim ben Nachman Michal should be a Me'elis Yosher for all of us, each one of us in our personal requests, in the request for Klal Yisrael, and the schus of this piece of Zera Shimshon, we should be Ma'ir Rachamim, and we should be Zoich to see the ultimate Geula.